Today marked a dramatic turning point in the career of Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Once a dominant force in Dalton's political landscape, her empire now crumbled in real time, with cameras rolling and the courtroom thick with tension. The embattled mayor, known for her unwavering confidence, found herself cornered, her usual bravado giving way to visible distress. Then, in an explosive moment, she stormed out of the proceedings, a political catastrophe unfolding before a stunned audience. This wasn't just another courtroom spectacle. This was a reckoning. For years, Henyard had evaded accountability, but today, the weight of mounting corruption allegations finally caught up with her. The carefully constructed facade of political invincibility shattered as irrefutable evidence of her misconduct came to light. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as reporters, political analysts, and everyday citizens filled the gallery, waiting to witness the fall of Dalton's most controversial mayor. The air turned thick with expectation as the judge entered. Silence fell. Then, the prosecution struck. One by one, the allegations were laid bare: a staggering 43,000 Amazon shopping spree, first-class flights, luxury hotel stays, all funded by taxpayer money. Each new revelation chipped away at Henyard's composure. Whispers rippled through the room as fresh documentation tied her directly to financial misconduct. Even her staunchest supporters exchanged uneasy glances. Henyard, who once commanded every room she entered, now seemed small, shrinking under the weight of the accusations. Her eyes darted around, searching for an escape, but none came. The prosecution was relentless, its case airtight. Her legal team scrambled, claiming political persecution, but the argument rang hollow. The tide had turned, and the judge's ruling loomed. Then, the unexpected happened. A former ally, one of Henyard's most trusted confidants, took the stand. The courtroom fell into a tense silence as the whistleblower spoke. The testimony was damning: a culture of fear, rampant corruption, and ruthless retaliation against anyone who dared question Henyard's reign. Gasps echoed as details of intimidation tactics surfaced. For the first time in her career, Henyard was speechless. Her face flushed, her once steely posture slumped. The truth, so carefully buried for years, had finally emerged. As the testimony concluded, the judge called for a recess. But when the proceedings resumed, Henyard was far from composed. Anger twisted her features. Then, in a shocking outburst, she shot up from her seat, fists clenched. "This is all lies. You just can't handle it!" She screamed at the judge, her voice laced with fury. The courtroom erupted into chaos. Reporters scrambled to capture the meltdown. Security rushed forward, urging Henyard to calm down, but she was beyond reason. She turned to storm out, her steps hurried and unsteady, only to come face to face with a line of federal agents blocking her path. The room froze. For the first time, fear flickered in Henyard's eyes. The lead agent, unshaken by her defiance, stepped forward, holding out an official document. "We need you to accompany us, Miss Henyard," he said calmly. "This is not an arrest, yet." The weight of the final word sent a shudder through the room. A murmur of disbelief swept through the spectators. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered furiously into their microphones. Henyard's lawyers rushed to her side, urgently advising her to remain silent, but the mayor's legendary stubbornness took over. "This is harassment. Political persecution," she spat, her voice cracking. "You'll all regret this." The agents stood unmoved. Reality dawned: this was no longer a mere scandal. This was the collapse of an empire. The mayor who once ruled with an iron fist now stood cornered, powerless against the very system she had manipulated for so long. As the agents flanked her, escorting her toward the courthouse exit, the humiliating walk played out like a tragic spectacle. Flashing cameras documented every moment, social media exploded in real time, and her supporters, once unwavering, began to waver. With each step, the legend of Tiffany Henyard crumbled. Her grip on power had shattered. And there was no turning back. Tiffany Henyard once stood as an unshakable political force, commanding attention with her fierce rhetoric and ironclad narrative of invincibility. But as the walls of scandal closed in, her carefully constructed image crumbled before the public's eyes. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed like vultures, shouting relentless questions. "Do you have a statement? Tiffany, will you step down? Is it true the FBI has a case against you?" Her face twitched with visible annoyance. The unwavering composure that had defined her public persona was slipping. Surrounded by federal agents, she remained silent, resisting the urge to provide more sound bites for the media frenzy. Instead, she focused inward, desperately strategizing as her team scrambled behind the scenes, trying to spin the situation in her favor. Leaked statements flooded social media, painting the unfolding investigation as a politically motivated witch hunt, an orchestrated attempt to silence a strong leader who had dared to challenge the system. But the deeper investigators dug, the uglier the picture became. The allegations against Henyard expanded beyond mere corruption. Reports surfaced of intimidation tactics, financial mismanagement, and even secret offshore accounts. Within minutes, the scandal went viral. Hashtags like Henyard exposed and Justice for the City trended as social media exploded with memes comparing her to notorious corrupt politicians. Henyard's inner circle spiraled into chaos, her team scrambling to contain the damage. Her attorneys attempted to discredit the leaked evidence, claiming manipulation, while her PR team worked overtime, issuing statements of innocence. But it was too late. The fallout was swift. Her biggest supporters, local politicians, influencers, even close allies, began to distance themselves. A once loyal colleague hesitantly stated, "If these accusations are true, we expect full accountability." Even television networks that once championed her began shifting their tone. A primetime anchor summed it up best: "The walls are closing in on Tiffany Henyard. And this time, there may be no escape." In a stark, fluorescent-lit interrogation room, Henyard sat across from a team of federal investigators. She leaned back in her chair, forcing a scoff. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, feigning amusement. "You have nothing on me." The lead investigator, unfazed, calmly placed a thick folder on the table. Bank statements, wire transfers, and incriminating communications painted a damning portrait of a politician who had abused her position for personal gain. One by one, the investigator slid documents toward her: a sizable deposit from an unidentified shell company, an email exchange arranging political favors in return for donations. But it was the final piece of evidence that drained the color from her face: a signed document bearing her name, authorizing a deal flagged as highly suspicious. "You can keep pretending," the investigator said, voice low and firm, "or you can start talking. We have enough to take this all the way." For the first time in her career, Tiffany Henyard had no comeback. The city was reeling. News of the federal investigation leaked, sending shockwaves through the political world. City officials who once stood by her swiftly turned their backs. One trustee declared, "We can no longer stand by while taxpayer money is squandered. We are calling for an immediate investigation." An emergency city council session, broadcast live, made it clear Henyard's hold on power was slipping. In a desperate attempt at damage control, Henyard's team released a scripted video statement. She spoke of loyalty, public service, and a supposed conspiracy against her. But the response was swift and brutal. Protesters flooded City Hall, demanding justice. Some called for her immediate arrest, others for her resignation. The illusion of her untouchable status was shattered. Still, she remained defiant. "I've devoted my life to serving this city. The truth will come out," she declared in a fiery press conference, accusing her opponents, the media, and even the federal government of conspiring against her. But the reporters were relentless. "Can you explain the leaked bank records, Miss Henyard? Do you refute the tapes in which you threaten your opponents? What would you say to the whistleblower speaking out against you?" She dodged their questions, sticking to her narrative. But by then, the tide had turned. Late that evening, the unthinkable happened. The FBI, backed by state officials, executed a search warrant at her home and office. The footage was broadcast live as agents carried out boxes of documents, hard drives, and laptops. And then came the image that would cement her downfall: Tiffany Henyard, in handcuffs. Within moments, the image went viral. What began as whispers of corruption had evolved into a full-blown criminal case. The charges: wire fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy to commit bribery each carried severe prison sentences. Legal analysts speculated that, if convicted, Henyard could face more than 20 years in prison. A plea deal now seemed her only option. As the city braced for new leadership, political allies abandoned her. The investigation widened, implicating others in her administration. Some celebrated her downfall, while others watched in stunned disbelief. Alone in a holding cell, Henyard stared at the cold grey walls. The empire she had built, brick by brick, was crumbling. Through her lawyers, she sent a final message: "This is not the truth. The truth will be revealed." Was this a last act of defiance or an empty threat? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: Tiffany Henyard's reign was over. Her rise from a powerful political figure to a disgraced criminal would be a tale for the history books. A story of corruption, deceit, and power run amok. Yet, one lingering question remained: did she truly deserve this downfall, or was there another side to the story yet to be uncovered? The public's fascination with her downfall only grew. And as history has shown, the most cunning politicians always find a way back. For now, the world would watch and wait, knowing that Tiffany Henyard's saga was far from over.